Hey, all you out there at the CW Source, Jason C. once again here behind the scenes of Supernatural with Ivan Hayden.
How you doing?
Visual effects supervisor. Good,
That's
good.
right.
How about you?
Good.
Tell me about one of your favorite visual effects scenes from season 2.
Obviously, my favorite episode would have to be the bank episode, bank shot that we did in episode 12 last season. One of the things about having an in-house facility this year is we get to do things that up the production value that typically only gets done in a feature film. For example, in this show, what they wanted to have done in the story was have a helicopter fly over the city, and to go and get the permits and rent the helicopter and make sure
it's parked out back here, isn't there?
Well, that's movie magic. Don't blow the secrets. Right?
Okay, all right.
So, what we did is we started out with what's called an animatic. This is sort of the progression of a full CG generated situation. We start out with an animatic where we start to rough in what happens in the shot. We get all the main beats that everyone can sign off on and look at. We've got the helicopter, we've got the SWAT van entering, you can see we have people moving into the background. We send that down to post-production, and then post-production can have something to cut with. The producers can look at it, and we can make sure that everything is going to work for timing, and sound can get a jump on it, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So as we start to progress through it, we start to add in
Same scene here.
more beats and more things that are a little bit more important. We're starting to add in some lights with the helicopters. We're getting textures. We're starting to rough up the ground scene on the background. We come into this version, we're starting to get a little bit happening in the back end of the matte painting. We're getting some environmental effects coming in. We're putting the windows and the glow in, and each pass that we go through, we add a little bit more to get approved and make sure that everything's working.
Okay.
So you can see we're starting to introduce some CG crowds. Nothing in this shot was filmed practically. We created this whole thing virtually on a computer. It was all done CG. And it's one of my favorite shots because we just don't get the chance to do this sort of thing in TV very often.
And now you can start to see like colors of the different buildings. This one's red over here. This one. How did you come up with your palette and the design of the buildings?
Well, what we did is we went out onto the location. This was actually filmed at a practical location at the Royal Bank downtown in Vancouver. We went out to this location. It's sort of a heritage site in the city. And we got up onto the rooftops and started to take digital stills of all of the surrounding buildings so that we would have the textures and the bump maps to make it work when we built them later on the show.
Okay, okay.
Then we start to see, you can see here that we're starting to get a little bit of motion and animation in on the lights. We've got the stop and the walk lights changing and the police things going in on that. So
it's version 8. To think of everything that you got to have in the front and in the background, the lights on top of the buildings, it's all little detail that one just takes for granted.
It all comes down to the fact that obsessive compulsive disorder also is not a bad thing.
I want to like that.
Exactly. You want to show them just the final shots, and this is what it finally looked like when it went to air. With all the environments, we got smoke happening in the background, we've got lens flare happening, we've got rain, we've got atmosphere, we've got distance cue, we've got the matte painting on into the back end with the glow from the city, some animated lights for recon towers, we've got lights on the cars and people moving, CG characters put into it with shadows.
I mean, it looks like there's a camera mounted on top of some tall building and just followed the helicopter around.
Well, that's what we hope.
How long did that scene take?
This shot took us about 5.5 weeks, start to finish. Once we had it.
This shot.
But
then there's all that approval process.
Well, there's all the approval process, and let's not forget that at the same time in television series we're working on about 3 episodes at the same time. So while we were doing episode 12, we were also working on episode 11, getting the shots in for episode 13, and starting to prep and R&D for episode 14. So
burning your retinas up.
Absolutely. We all wear sunglasses outdoors because of the radiation that's beamed directly into our eyeballs.
I can imagine. These are pretty big screens as well. Thank you very much. This is all really fascinating, Ivan, and I hope we can come back sometime and see all of the effects that you did for 3, maybe in 4.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thank you very much.